Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
And
I'm just hiding because of the internet, of the connection, but I'm here.
you're here. Okay, we can see you. Blurry, a bit blurry, which could be a cinematographic effect as well, because okay, Carol,
Yes, only
What is cinematographic effect?
can, can you tell us a bit more about the making of the film? I recognized some of the voices of the people you interviewed, but they were anonymous for mostly. And there's probably a very good reason for the anonymity, because we did hear a lot of swear words which expressed the anger at what happened. And from my perspective, I almost lived it every. Oops, she's gone. I lived through the bomb minute by minute, but watching the film as a whole had a, standing outside and seeing it was had a much bigger impact on us. So, Carol, can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, the good. At least I can. Can you hear me?
Carol, if you
I
want,
can
if
hear
you
you.
Here
can
Yeah.
or
switch to mobile internet instead of Wi-Fi. The, and you in Lebanon that usually
am I?
solves
I
it.
am on my.
Oh, okay, okay.
What if we switch our videos?
Okay.
Okay, Carol, we can hear you. Carol? Yes. No work. Gino.
I think the internet connection in Lebanon is
Yeah.
exceptionally bad today.
Yes, it speaks about the situation as well. So we're experiencing a sort of gradual and total collapse of of, of a country that was normal less than 2 years ago, whatever you call normal. Um, with and according to the statements we are hearing for yesterday, for example, from the Minister of Finance, it's going to get much worse at the end of the month, with subsidies being removed on essential food and fuel items. Carol, you're back. Great.
I'm back. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay.
It's your fault.
Uh, but I'm gonna take off my video. Now you can see me.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. Well,
I
You're,
changed. Okay. Uh, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about the film, right? This is what you asked me, Nadeem.
yes, yes, about the making of the film and about the language and the anger and that.
Okay. Every time I think about this explosion, first of all, I need to say that we have not to forget what happened. The explosion was devastating. I still have nightmares about it. I think everybody is traumatized and angry. And I'm not sure we have to, it's healthy to get rid of this anger. This explosion hit us, in the middle of our safety, of our homes, where, the pandemic is stay home, stay safe. And it was really in the heart of our homes. So when it happened, I just couldn't, except go down with my camera, and I spent the following maybe 2-3 weeks just going from one neighborhood to the other, talking to people and filming, trying to digest what was happening. Um, um, I used my friends' voices anonymously, not because they used swear words. I was swearing. I was so angry, but because they represent what we all feel. It's not something that I felt. It's something that we lived, all of us, in a very intimately, similar way. Um, and instead of having basically my voice over and over, the issues that I wanted to talk about. And by the way, the voice notes are not acted. I just asked my friends without telling them that I was making a film, without going like, I'm gonna ask you a question and then I told them that I'm gonna use your voices. um, I try to forget the explosion. I try to, but things are happening at such a fast rate now. Even the explosion now is a bit behind. Things are, every day there's something happening, every minute there's something happening. We're not able to grasp what's happening. We're not able to analyze. So I don't know what to say. We're total rage, despair, depression, rage. Uh, the feeling of not being able to be heard, no dignity, no respect, no, I don't know. I can go on and on and on. It's not about finding the right words and the vocabulary, but it's just we are in a total mess here. Not even mess, I don't know. It's so depressing, so depressing, Nadim. I was asking Gino, where are you? He said, in the States, and you too. Here it's a day, not daily struggle. Every minute is a struggle in Lebanon. Every minute. I wake up, I decide to be in a good mood, and then you see what's happening around you. You just boof, and then you and then boof, and everybody is feeling the same. So you cannot, call your friend, please come. Everybody is like mahattam. So I'm not losing hope, because if I lose hope, it's, I'm not only losing hope because I see people like Gino, people like, there are still the young generation, younger than me anyway, who is doing things. People are coming together, but I don't know. I don't know how, I don't know when something, I wait for a miracle. I wake up, I say, oh, maybe something happened, I open my phone, but I don't know if a miracle will happen that soon, unfortunately.
Thank you, Carol. Now, Gino, you got a lot of praise, and the revolution got a lot of praise, but I don't see that the revolution is still active. I mean, what we saw recently is that it's greatly diminished. That all the video you showed us, which had a lot of hope and exhilaration almost at by the young people who have
First 30 days. I keep.
first 30
I
days.
wouldn't say praise after all this time. If anything, I
No,
wouldn't have
yes.
to. I wouldn't have to be in New York
But
if
what
that were
happened?
the case.
But
But
how is
I
the
think
mood now?
the mood's terrible. Yani,
You
I
have the
think I
slogan.
think Carol's movie captured exactly what most people who lived through that are feeling right now. I left exactly 3 weeks before it happened, so I wasn't there when it happened. But watching Shattered, Anjad was something else. It was different from covering it from afar.
Yeah.
Where is it today? That's a question that I've heard since 2015 and even maybe before. this is not the first time people go down to the streets. This is maybe the biggest time we were able to do that. But right after each time, when it was the Laik Pride in the early 2010s, then it was Talat Rihatkun when the garbage crisis happened. So for me, I don't see it as gone or dissipated. On the contrary, I see it's building upon each and every one. And that's how I keep myself going after all the disappointments and all the horror we've faced against this criminal people still in charge who were behind the blast. The blast was basically the manifestation of all the problems that were already there. And October 17 didn't happen for the WhatsApp tax. It happened because Lebanon was burning for an entire week and the government did absolutely nothing for that. That was the real trigger. But because of a minor protest about WhatsApp, one of the bodyguards of an MP shot at an unarmed woman who proceeded to dropkick him in the chest. And that was the reason people came down. It wasn't because things were going good. We were already suffering from not being able to use our money, our dollars, and the bank. We were already suffering from fuel shortages, shortages of wheat, even long before October 17. So the collapse,
17, you
it
could.
was the harbinger of the collapse coming. It didn't, the collapse wasn't because people went down. It did collapse for the people who are on the margins of society, and that's when the protests started. So that was the beginning of the end of the current system that we're going through. And now we see it as that system crumbling. There's nothing left when you have the Minister of Interior say the cops can't respond anymore. When you have the army general say the army doesn't have money, we're relying on handouts. So when everyone in power is telling you, I don't have power anymore, the state is basically gone. So the question is, where have they been, the people that we saw in the first 30 days? I think since the pandemic, they've been focusing on trying to organize themselves, given a lot of them never met, never worked with each other before that time. So I wish it would be quicker and more efficient. But the way I see it is that rage that we saw in the streets October 17 and on August 8 after the blast is now finally becoming political parties, political movements that are organizing. Unfortunately, the step of them coalescing into a coalition that makes sense, that can be an alternative for the people that got us in this mess, that's the stage we're at now. That I hope, with the extremely deteriorating situation, will be the final gentle nudge for all these groups to do a coalition and unseat the reason we are in this mess today.
Yeah. So one of the things that was different in the October protest from the protests you mentioned before is that this time it was national. This time you saw it in the north, in the south, in the Bekaa, everywhere. Before it was centered on Beirut.
Exactly.
And also you saw the participation of a lot of other unusual, like for example, the domestic workers. That so Carol made a film about.
Everyone had stake, exactly.
So Carol, what do you see? Did you see in this protest? Is it like much broader? What's the difference between the protests we're seeing now?
I actually
that you cover, yeah.
The protest in 2019, you mean?
Yes.
I remember the day before the protest, I was so depressed. I was lying on my couch, looking at the ceiling, listening to the news and crying. I was so depressed and asking myself, where the hell am I going to go and live? And without your support system and without your friends, you cannot go anywhere. So, but I was so depressed. And the day it happened, I just couldn't believe my eyes. Like Gino said, it was the first time it was everywhere. Everybody and everywhere in Lebanon, people were on the streets. And every day I would wake up and I would, make sure that people were still on the streets. I have a small motorcycle, would go from one corner to the other to downtown on the ring, and I would stay 1-2 hours. I spent like 2-3 months at the beginning just on the streets, literally from the morning till the night, closing streets, protesting, screaming, yelling, talking to people. And I made so many friends. These are my new friends from the revolution. So many people you meet, so many, it was like, wow. And then I don't know what happened. And then, well, COVID and,
COVID, oppression, yeah, every tool in the tactic. That's why I thought this retrospective of the first 30 days of the October 17 uprising is a good reminder for us, because we're always busy with the day's issues, like Carol was saying, that we forget the big picture we started with, the real reason people went down. And it's easy to forget that when you can't see something material in front of you. But I'd like to remind people that since 2006, since 2019, every single electoral uh, possibility, the Thawra has won. So every union, every university, every etc. The problem is, we don't think we don't have enough fair and free elections often. But the thing that we keep saying, hearing is, oh, people will always vote for the same thing. That's because they never had an option to. And a majority has never voted in Lebanon in our lifetimes. So it was never more than 50%. So just assuming, things will stay the same, I think is the problem we're all facing now. And remembering that we have a lot of power. We had a lot of people come down to the street. You can't just think this is a phase and it's gonna move on, because no matter what they do, if they even say everyone is a terrorist or a traitor or blah blah blah, the stuff they use, the usual police state tactics, even if they do that, it's gonna come back again. They did that in 2015, and they did that before. So this is not something that it starts and it goes. No, it's gonna keep coming back as long as nothing else changes. The fact that
well,
no
definitely,
accountability will not happen. It'll
yes,
happen.
definitely something has changed. خلاص, we cannot go
Yeah.
back to where we were. This is, definitely.
But I mean, you said that we should look at the big picture, but maybe we're looking at too vague a picture, because the call to say all means all, يعني كلهم, is a bit abstract. It's and there are two types of narratives on the street in Lebanon. There is one which is almost self-flagellating. And we are bad, we are corrupt, we are sectarian, we deserve what we got, we always elect the same people. Our country is artificial, the history is rubbish. There's a complete self-flagellation by
As there should be.
once, yeah, that's
I
maybe
think.
part of the despair. But then there is another, which is there's another discourse which is becoming politicized and more focused against, instead of kullon yani kullon, instead of the whole establishment, it's becoming more focused against certain parties that are, and abstract words like the sulta is now being means certain parties. So why don't people speak clearly? Why do they use abstract terms? Why are people afraid of politics, or are they, um, is it fear? Is it that they don't, that
No, I
unity?
think it's the
Because
one thing
if
that
you're going
groups
to have
everyone.
elections, if you're going to have elections, you need people to stand against each other. You can't have an election with nomination of the same, like the Baath Party election, or whatever. You have to have different opinions. And there is fear of showing different opinions, of division, is obsession with unity. How do you explain these two views?
I I'm never like obsessed with unity. I think that's never the should never be the option, because that in Lebanon always means compromising on something you believe in order to maybe win an election seat. And we don't want to do we don't want to be Hezbollah and Lebanese forces allying in 2005. This is not the point of the politics that I think the Killon Yani Killon people choose when we say Killon Yani Killon, because they were all implicated.
Because
It's
of
like
the
saying if there's a gang and one gang member has killed more people than the other gang member, he's less culpable. No, they're all culpable. If one is not as good at stealing or murdering during the war, that does not make them any less culpable, because they were partners throughout the chaos that has happened in the last 30 years. And the question is, why don't we choose who we are? لأنه this should happen in an election. It's not people in the street that decide which political party is better than the other. Let them do that in a ballot box where the law isn't gerrymandered to their own to guarantee their win. For me, كلهم يعني كلهم is the one thing that groups everyone that went down on October 17th. Nothing else will. If we think about it, and the problem isn't, yani, we think of it in the classic way of a protest, where the protest should have a very clear demand and do it. But everything in Lebanon is gone. Everything is not doing well. كل شيء يعني كل شيء. So if I want to go down and specifically talk about economics or education plan, even if you do change in that and the entire system is still there and the entire sulta is still there, you're not gonna go anywhere. فكلهم يعني كلهم I think is important, and the attempts to create unions of convenience like the sulta does. You know, they don't believe in anything. يعني every day Gibran Bassil goes and says we want peace with Israel, but his number one ally is Hezbollah. So they're in this alliance because they know they're benefiting from each other. And unfortunately, even people who are rising up against this still think in the same way. They think, hey, ma, they do that, we should do that too. No, we shouldn't do that too. We want accountability. We want actual change, not a deal so we get one or two ministers with ministers like the ones we have now. So I think it started out in 2015, and I think it's never going away until accountability happens. So, even if you're less culpable, pay the price. You can stay in jail 5 years instead of 10 years. Then after it, you can say not كلهم يعني كلهم. But for now, absolutely كلهم يعني كلهم.
Carol, do you agree that all these issues are completely related and there's no hierarchy or priority amongst them, and كلهم يعني كلهم? You're muted.
I'm sorry, I'm muted. I totally agree, because even if supposedly you are not corrupt, if you are not corrupt, but you are
Gone. We can't hear you. Yeah. No, we can't hear you, Carol. No, we can't hear.
I think it's gonna become worse.
It's going to become. Type Gino, back to you. So you want accountability, but there she is. I think Carol was trying to say that even that there's no difference between less corrupt and more corrupt. They're all part of the same system. Hey, Carol. Putting words in your mouth. No. No. Carol is typing. No, someone else is. Maybe we can take the question.
No, I am typing. I'm just trying to say I am on my 4G, I am on my Wi-Fi, I keep on and it goes off. So
Yes.
So I was going to suggest that there is a question here that maybe Gino can address it until Carol fixes her situation.
Yeah, I have one more question before we go
Yeah.
to the floor, which is that after we're asking for accountability, but after the blast, there was accountability because we had the results of the Special Tribunal for Lebanon were published, the judgment, which gave us a form of accountability. So how come that this went unnoticed and nobody's talking about it in Lebanon, Chino or Karam?
And and honestly, the number one person involved in this, which is Hariri, the guy, Harfi Hariri's son, said he's not gonna care originally. So why would anyone else care? So this was it was used as a political pawn between both sides, and Hezbollah was better, much better than the what used to be March 14 at this. They dumped it down, they laughed at it, and the others just said, "Yeah, it's fine if they killed him. We just want to form a government," which they still haven't.
But are you
So for
supposed
me,
to,
that's different. I want accountability for the people that stole my money, not the ones who assassinated politicians. I think you can't really mix those. Yani the killon yani killon is not to find out who killed Hariri.
you
It's to
cannot
find
make,
out why all my money was stolen. So linking the two, I don't think works like that. And you can't if the people who are actually sued, yani the people who did that, didn't care. Why would you expect the people on the street to? Why didn't the government try to go arrest
because
the
you are
people
opposed
convicted?
to the compromises that politicians make, and now you're accepting the compromises and saying since
I'm
they
not accepting anything, but I'm not the one that's in power to go arrest the person who is. I don't think that's a fair example to give when it's March 14th's fault for not actually doing the job they're supposed to do about this. But I don't see how the two are mixed in that. And for me, the problem is August 4 blast. I could not care less about the Special Tribunal of Lebanon and its findings. I care more about things that affected normal people, normal Lebanese people, and that till this day, they're arresting people for stupid, petty crimes or speaking online. But till now, no actual suspect in the August 4 blast has been arrested. But this is the accountability people are looking for in the street, not the STL. And which, come in, I was disappointing. يعني, I know people thought it would actually name Hezbollah itself.
but it
When they
did.
named a member, a senior member from one, no one actually explained that this is actually the result of this investigation. So I don't think accountability, what we mean is يعني, they're both important, but I don't think they're the same. And the accountability we want isn't for the STL; it's for why our lives are now in tatters
And
and
you think
our
that
home is
there
gone.
is no connection between the assassinations, the wars, the paralysis, and that happened in Lebanon and the
I
SDF.
think that Hariri is complicit with Hezbollah, absolutely complicit,
And
like the rest of
let's
them,
see what
which
questions
is
I have.
why it's
Let's
killon
see.
يعني killon always.
Yeah, but
I read that one question. So
yes.
uh, from Michael in the midst. I just
No,
read an interview with Nadine Labaki in The National where she also said that even with the crisis in Lebanon, she also hasn't given on hope. Can you identify tangible, realistic milestones that can signal a change for the better? It is it mainly political, as I have. Michael, unfortunately, right now, and in my opinion, the problem, what something that's tangible that we'll know if we will be able to succeed for the better and have hope or not, is if direct foreign money comes to the current people in power. If that happens, we go back to square one. Why? Because this is what they always do. After the war ended, they needed money to rebuild. They did that. After the Israeli withdrawal in 2000, they needed money. Paris 1, Paris 2. After the Syrian withdrawal in 2005, same thing happened. When the worldwide financial crisis happened in 2008, money came in. Then the Doha Accord happened. So they're used to driving us to the edge of the cliff, and then someone coming in and swooping in and throwing money at the problem, buying them a few extra years to stay in power and keep on the Ponzi scheme going. Now, that money doesn't seem to be coming anywhere. And if groups like the IMF or the World Bank think of giving them money, it's gonna get stolen, just like they stole the vaccines. It's something we're used to and we expect from these people in power. They will steal that money. Today, there was a semi-win where the World Bank agreed with the government tentatively to give the money in US dollars to people that really need it instead of lira and taking a cut like the original plan was.
It's
But for
200.
me, I'm still worried, they'll still steal those dollars. But that's a good win, a good example of a small win that we need to focus on. But I don't think anything will change unless it's either transitionary government that would do elections and that parliament would fix everything wrong with our current sectarian system, or it's going to be a lot worse. I think it's not going to be better, definitely, if these people stay in power and they get money.
Carol, we had a transitionary government which didn't do anything. Do you think there is a need for another transitionary government?
No, I definitely think I definitely think money should not come in right now to the government that we have. Definitely not, because it's going to be stolen, like Gino said. A transitional government, I don't know, like we come back to the everybody have to be out, to go out and then reshuffle everything and, bring new blood, new people. But I don't have hope. I really don't have hope. A lot of elections, early elections, or people are still, Christian, Muslim, Druze, if you touch a little bit, go by level in the Muhammad, in the villages, in the people will not. I'm not sure that, if we have elections now, that it's going to be something, like a change. Not yet.
Yes, because you need an electoral law, and there is no, and it is the government, it's the actual parliament now that will have to, and the government that will have to make it.
And you need, yes, you need accountability. You need accountability. You need a system that
Yeah, and well, let me ask you another question, Carol. You know that for the blast, that people are asking for an international investigation for the blast. Now, in 2005, people asked for an international.
I don't think it's. I'm sorry. Maybe the internet is. I don't think we're gonna have an international investigation because they don't want an international investigation.
But we want one. We want one. Why should, I mean, in 2005, we asked for an international investigation, and we asked for an international tribunal, and we asked for the truth. And when we received the truth, we are ignoring it. Why should the international community come and do another investigation if we're going to ignore it because it's partisan? So Gino is saying that we are ignoring it because it's accusing one party. Of course, somebody's guilty.
No, I didn't say we're ignoring it. I'm saying that Hariri himself said he doesn't care what the outcome is. So you can't put the blame on the people in the streets for not picking up what Hariri should be doing.
I can't put the
blame. You
can,
but I don't think it's equitable. And for this August 4 blast, we already know who's guilty. We don't need an international tribunal.
Tell us.
We know who's guilty already. It is everyone who has been in charge, including Hariri, who knew about it and did nothing. So it's on Birri, all Hezbollah. We know who it is. They tried to spin it the first few days. Oh, it's a fireworks explosion. Oh, it's an Israeli thing, blah, blah, blah. No, we know it's their fault. We know who's guilty. This is not posturing or trying to use it politically like March 14 did. when they kept saying حقيقة حقيقة and ripping us off for the money. That's the problem. That's why March 14, I think, failed and why October 17 happened. They kept using the title, we are against Hezbollah, then going and sitting with them on the same table for 3 months after March 14, 2005. When we kicked out the Syrians, they just went back to it. So both of them are culpable. كلهم يعني كلهم. If they didn't form a police force that's powerful enough to go capture someone from Hezbollah, I don't see how this is our fault. It is their fault. And that's why they are culpable, and that's why they need to be gone too, because they have been partners with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is like their bodyguard, and the rest are all the part of the system, that the Ponzi scheme that we have been living through. What's good finally, and everything is exposed now, what people were scared to do. And that's why I'm happy about October 17. The discourse changed. The ideas of sovereignty and not having a militia over your head is no longer an empty March 14 slogan. Now it's something that people really think and feel and believe about. And I'm glad that they took back this demand that was co-opted by the March 14 coalition, which has always been a partner of Hezbollah. Even after the special tribunal came out, he's still forming a government with them. So this is their fault and their problem. Our problem is we need them all gone. And I don't mean transitional government like Hassan Diab. That's not a transitional government. That's just the advisors of the old ministers.
But can I say that
and saying that there isn't enough people to do it? Yes, there is. There's amazing Lebanese people in Lebanon and across the world who can lead a transitional government. This saying, where are we going to get someone who's not political? You can get a lot. You don't have to compromise.
I'm trying to find another question. There is one here. This is the one. Is there another question down below from the audience? No.
I have a question for Gino.
Yes.
Gino, are you coming back to Lebanon?
When my military tribunal case is solved, and I still don't know what they want me for. For now, I'm here. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna risk going back there, given that they started charging terrorism, and we saw what they did to Kinda Khatib. So it's not a smart idea to do that now. And I am using my relative safety here to do what someone back home would get in trouble for. So it took a while getting used to being far away, especially after the blast. We're used to just going in my car and driving down. But the good thing about that is I have half a day where people in Lebanon are asleep and I'm still awake, where I can focus on what's next instead of just focusing on the problem I'm facing right now in front of me, like when we were in the streets or like you are right now in Lebanon. I definitely prefer to be back there right now, but I'm also figuring out how I can be more useful from here for the time being, at least, instead of just being detained and having people protest to get me out, and a stupid waste of time for fragile egos of the old men in power that can't handle an Instagram account.
That's a very good way of
really, like it's so insulting, and people, I make a mockery of them a lot of time, but today I still see that no one involved in the ammonium nitrate has even been questioned. But if I put an Instagram post, I get to the military tribunal. No, كمان, this is مسخرة صار. It's a mockery of what it is.
But don't
with everything happening, this is what you're focusing on, which shows them how useless these people are and how essential it is for any meaningful change for them to be removed completely, all of them, no exception.
When you say all of them, you're avoiding to name people.
كلهم. I named a lot of them. Hezbollah, Hariri, Uwait, Aouniye, Jibran Bassil, literally everyone involved in the past 30 years. Exactly. Number one. All of them. Yeah. Every single one that held any public office in the last 30 years needs to take a vacation. Leave us. Enough.
I have one last question before because we're running over time. My last question is that this populist revolt, which is asking for the whole
Popular, not populist.
popular revolt, which is asking for the whole establishment to collapse and drain the swamp in a kind of slogan, happened in India, in Hungary, in Mexico, in Brazil, and in the United States. And it's always brought, because of its unfocused and because you're collapsing the whole establishment, it brings out populist leaders who are non-democratic, who are authoritarian. So do you think there is appetite in Lebanon now for a authoritarian?
Absolutely not.
No?
Absolutely not. We have 7 authoritarian, undemocratic leaders right now. So the كلهم is a direct يعني assault on that. But the problem is here, we look at authoritarianism on the rise, but the problem is we have 6 or 7 small dictators instead of one strong one that are usually busy squabbling amongst themselves over scraps from what they still haven't stolen. So I don't see that at all as creating an authoritarian. بالعكس, it's the normal, natural reaction to the authoritarianism that Lebanon has been living under for the past 40 years, even like, since the Civil War, not just since it ended. I don't think so. And I don't think it's populist to believe in a basic accountability and making sure that your taxes go to the right place. I think that's a very normal thing to ask for after literally everyone's life saving is gone, just so that Riyad Salemi can give himself awards and um, you know the rest can live a life of luxury, have offshore accounts in Switzerland and in Panama, everywhere around the world. I think it's not populist to demand that these people pay for what they've done, instead of live as though they're uh, demigods living on Earth that you can't even mention. This is one thing I'm also very proud of since October 17, where none of them have respect now anymore. They are scorned and humiliated. They can't go down in public when foreign president can go down to the street in public like Macron and feel safe enough to not get killed there. But our own president or any minister or any member of parliament wouldn't even dare go to a restaurant from the shame they're feeling. I'm uh, I'm glad about that, at least. This sanctity of no one can get accountability and it's fine, we'll just get over it, is the problem we're here. If after the war people just pretended nothing happened and said, Yalla, Mali, we'll get money and start fixing everything. And look where it got us back to the same starting point. Watching movies from the 80s about Lebanon, you feel it's like they're talking now, which is very unfortunate. So we need to address this. ما بقى في We can't keep going with, it's fine, we just move on, we accept what we want. خلص, everything is gone. You can't accept not even the bare minimum anymore. خلص خيم, I lost everything. There's nothing left. It's time to change.
Right. Thank you. Thank you both. I mean, we're getting to the end of our. We've gone a bit over. We lost some time before. Carol, do you want to give us your parting thought, if you can link, if you can connect? Give us some hope, at least. لأنه Gino has depressed me now. Yeah.
No, not at least. I am the one with the most hope. بالعكس, I just don't see. I think we differ in the solutions. Maybe, but we want the same thing. I don't think we need to settle with people who have proven to be failures, if not criminals, over the past 30 years. And saying that we have to, I don't agree. There's so many better equipped and better intentioned people out there that are ready to do the work. So it's time to let them. It's fine. خلاص. Enough.
Carol, can you hear us? No, she can't.
No.
Nora, over to you.
Well, it's been a very interesting and challenging conversation, but all the glitches and all the internet situations we've been having have been only an illustration of
Absolutely.
exactly what is going on the ground in Beirut. And it's extremely frustrating. I mean, can you imagine living like this on a day in, day out basis? And in a way, I was just thinking that, Gino, yes, you're not there, you're not on the ground, but being in New York and having the lead time to organize yourself with a better internet connection, maybe you're able to better mobilize people and get people around the idea. And definitely, when change comes, if it's real change, it has to be uprooted. It has to be from the ground up. You cannot just make a slight change. Let's do a slight change, make a slight change, because if the snake's head is not cut off, it will come back, you know? So
It's an octopus. It's not a snake.
it's the dragon.
It's an octopus with several heads.
Right, multi-headed dragon with octopus. Oh, we have Carol back. So, as I said, because we lost so much time with all the internet glitches and things we had, maybe we'll give Carol an opportunity, since she's back now, to wrap up or say something that she wants to add.
I just want to add one thing. I just want to add that I don't want to lose hope. I am starting to lose hope. I don't want to lose hope. I want to believe in us. I want to believe in and for generation. I want to forget. I want us to be strong, and I don't know. I just hope the best for everybody.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that with these situations, with corrupt governments
I
being in
hope
power, usually it's the way they succeed is because they kill the hope in the people. And that's the one thing people should not lose a hold of, you know. If they lose, if they're able to crush the hope in the younger generation and the vision of seeing the possibility of a better future, then it can be a possibility for success if the youth don't lose that hope. And of course, it could be it could mean failure by the same token if that hope is crushed. So let's all hope that this will generate something eventually. Of course, my thought was, how could this happen? Of course, the timing. A lot of things happened in the world during this COVID situation with the pandemic. A lot of evil took advantage of this situation. Different countries, many examples abide. Wars happened and revolutions were crushed under the pretext that there is a pandemic. And of course, in the United States, with the government and the Capitol and all those things that happened, and under the guise that the pandemic was at play. So I am surprised at how could these people continue. Of course, some of the footage was from 2019.
Yes, before.
And I'm sure that, you know, the pandemic also took its toll on the revolution.
Yeah,
of course. And the blast came at the end. It's really been
and of course the blast to
non-stop barrage of stuff out of our control. And
Yeah.
there's definitely hope. And the hope is, in a period like now, you're not gonna be happy, hopeful. Of course, it's a terrible period with a lot of tragedy happening every day, and being, you know, nothing is good about that, to feel hopeful and go down to the streets and dance. But on the long run, the people in charge, as evil as they are and terrible and horrible, they're also extremely incompetent. We're much better at them at everything. So I do have hope and know.
Yeah. Well,
if we can't remove them, they'll just die of old age, hopefully, since they're all in their late 80s. And finally, we will have a better chance. Wow. So I do have hope, definitely.
We'll have to wait then. It's going to be quite
hopefully
a wait.
soon. Hopefully soon.
I want to.
I think we are going to die before they do, Gino.
That's the struggle to survive more than them right now, in my mind. I think, yes. You know, it's for them to last more than the money that they stole, for us to actually last, which is very difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult, but
True.
also by
Not
coming
not an easy time.
together, conversing, by coming together and encouraging each other and giving each other hope. And that's
Of course.
part of the mission of this festival, to open the platform to allow filmmakers to come and voice their concerns, talk about the issues that bother them on a daily basis,
Of course.
because these are films that are kind of fragile, and in the commercial world out there, you might not have some big festivals or big distributors necessarily protecting or defending these causes, because all they care is, am I going to make money, and who
Ticket
is the
sales.
star that's in this film? So we hope that in a small way, the Socially Relevant Film Festival contributes to making these voices heard. I know we have had the pleasure of hearing Carol's voice so many times, and we cannot have enough of it.
Yes.
And shall I try to give it a last one third try? They say
Yes.
jamais deux sans trois. If
Of course. Of course.
maybe I'll try.
Can I focus on a question about
Sure, of course. Go ahead.
because there is one subject we haven't managed to talk about, which is the impact of all this on the art scene in Lebanon, on filmmakers, music, the
Yes.
galleries, and all that. So if Carol could also tell us a bit about this, because the explosion happened very close to where our art scene is in Beirut.
يعني unfortunately Nadim, every big gallery has been hit. Centers are empty. I went once actually to the movies to watch a film, and I was alone with a friend of mine in this huge production money. There's no money to produce anything. The scene is totally, but at the same time, artists are still trying, are still, even on Zoom, showing films or going to a museum. But definitely, the great. And right now, I think some not city priority right now for this, but I am hearing me. Hello, hello.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all breaking up,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So this is really great because as we were speaking about the hope, maybe with your help, Gino, and your help, Carol, and I'm also going to call upon our friends, Sam Lahoud and everybody else in Lebanon that we know in the film industry who have provided us films and shown us films even from last year, that maybe we should put out a call out there and do a focus on Lebanese cinema and Lebanese artists to allow this voice to be heard, whether it's about the revolution, about the explosion, or about everyday life. We want to hear the voices of the Lebanese artists. So hopefully
Always.
we'll get to do something like that.
Sure. Thank you, Nora, really, Nadim, for moderating.
Thank you. It was
Fortunately, أكيد, I wish Carol's
Yeah.
internet was better, but it's a good example to see it live. You know what people in Lebanon are suffering through, have been suffering through for a very long time without any break yet.
Yeah, it's really, really hard because at some point they are expecting people to break, and that's what should not happen. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, everyone.
Hey, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank
We're
you,
about
Nora.
21 minutes over the time, but we lost some time with all the technical stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But please tune in and follow the festival, the Socially Relevant Film Festival. It's all over the place. You can type Socially Relevant in Google and it'll come up. And here is
As you
Carol. We are wrapping up, Carol, and thank you so much for being with us despite all the glitches. And hopefully everything fixes, at least the internet, soon. And then eventually everything else.
Yes.
We keep hoping. Yes, let's hope. Let's hope.
Mm.
Thank you,
Thank
Nadim, for
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
moderating. And Gino, thank you for being with
Thank you
us.
for having me.
And have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone. Thank you
Thank
all.
you. Goodbye.
Thank you to the attendees who stuck around and to the end of this. Let me see. Everybody's thanking. Gino, thank you.
Everybody's, yes, and I'm getting lots of I think lots of people are watching on YouTube and Facebook.
Excellent. Yes, because it's
It's,
live. Yeah,
Okay.
your
right.
fan clubs.
Bye.
Thank you all. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye. Thank you.